This episode is sponsored by JDAQA Software Testing, your scalable solution for manual, automated, security, and performance testing. Check us out at jdaqa.com. And with that, let's get on with the show.
This is The First Customer, hosted by Jay Agner.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the First Customer Podcast. My name is Jay Agner. Today, I am lucky enough to be joined by Marc Portney. He is the CEO and founder and president of lots of different things. He's a TV show guy. He's an investor. He's got the mouth of a sailor, which we're going to have to stamp this with not safe for work probably, but I'm very excited, Marc. Thanks for being on, buddy. How are you?
I appreciate it, man. Not safe for work. Wow, we're getting right there.
I mean, look, it's going to be about work, but it's probably not something you play, with your Bluetooth speakers.
Nah, you're not going to want to gather the kids around. That's for sure.
Oh, no.
But
Lost
yeah,
him. Oh, lost you for a second. I'm not sure. Lost you for a second.
I appreciate you having me, man.
You got it, brother. So, Marc, you've got probably more stories than any guest that we've ever had on. You've got so much cool stuff on your backlog of things you've done. Give me the snapshot version. Who's Marc? And where'd you grow up, and did that have any impact on you being an entrepreneur?
Oh, and I was born in Queens, New York, as you can probably tell already from my accent. But yeah, I was born in the city of New York. I grew up there for a bit, and then I moved out. But even as a small kid, I always had the entrepreneurial bug. So I would shine my father's shoes for 25 cents each. I saved up enough money for one of those, the wooden thing that you stand on, you put your foot. So I saved up for one of those, and then I would just wait for my grandparents to come over, and I would shine their shoes, whether they wanted it or not, for money. And it just kind of started there. The other thing is I'm a little bit of a rebel, so I really don't like anybody telling me what to do. So bosses suck. So I just, that all of that combined, I knew I was destined. I knew there was no hope for me to be employed by somebody else.
It's an interesting thought, and I feel the same way, but I am curious. Bosses suck, but as most business owners will probably tell you, you have lots of bosses. Those are your clients, right? So how do you interact with them? I'm assuming it's just very authentic, and what you see is what you get, but how do you kind of navigate that, right? Like, you've got to, I don't give a shit kind of attitude, but at the same time, you still got to be nice enough and friendly enough, and make relationships and partnerships with people to run businesses and stuff. How do you kind of balance those two things?
No, I do. My boss, you always have a boss. And in your case, what you said properly was that your customers are your boss. So you're never without a boss. But what I mean, bosses suck, or you got, go take lunch for 30 minutes, or go
Right.
over there, do this, do that, stand up straight when I'm talking to you. How about fuck you? How about that? And that lets me know that is the kind of thing that I'm talking about. You're always going to be dealing with the customers. You're always going to be doing everything that you can. I'm relationship based. So everything I do is on the basis of a relationship. And when it comes to the customers, I will do anything and everything I have to do to make sure that customer's not only satisfied, but understands that what you see is what you get. I'm the real deal, and I'll cut off a leg for you. But once you can establish that with a customer, he'll always have them. I mean, things do happen over time, and I can certainly attest to that. But a lot of times I err to the side of being too loyal, and I end up getting fucked for it. But, yes, the customer is always your boss, and without your customers, you really
Right.
have nothing. It's funny. I was once at a party and somebody says, "Oh, well, how do you do it? You can go out of business at any minute." And I said to them, "Listen, you're the one that's got one source of income. If you don't make those widgets or whatever it is that you're doing, and they let you go, you're gone. I've got 150 customers. I've got 150 opportunities to make a living." Right. So if I lose a customer, which I never want to do, I still have 149 more customers that I can do. I'm more insulated than you. You think I'm out there swinging wild dick, but I'm not. you're the one that's got one guy or one woman source of income, and you could be let go at any moment. So if anybody's at risk,
Right.
well, it's you. And don't get me wrong, being in a career and whatever it is, whether it be a police officer or anyone that you can work for the same person over and get a pension, that's awesome, dude. Sometimes I'm really jealous of that, to
Mhm.
be
No, that
honest
makes
with you.
sense. Alright. Well, I mean, to get from your early, Queens location to today, I think you probably need like an autobiographer to like sit down and sketch all that out. But what was the first kind of real business you started, into your adult kind of years? What did you start?
Well, at the beginning, after the illegal stuff, we go right
Yeah,
into
legal
let's
is
go to the
probably more
legal
relevant. I
stuff.
mean, we've all done,
You
look,
want to
we've
go
had
legal? Let's
our moments, but yeah,
Yeah,
legal,
okay.
yeah.
So I was a bad kid. I'm a 4-year graduate of New York Military Academy. So you and your listeners can fill in the blanks. You were either super wealthy or super bad, and we weren't wealthy. So you can put all that shit together. But I really started in the plant and flower business, to be honest with you. I got sent there because my parents got divorced and my father didn't know what to do with me on the weekends. So across the street was a plant and flower store, and I started working there at age 13. And then I started to pick that up. And, I know this is called the first customer. So I'll go into the first customer with you. So I go from there to a second location, to a second job. He stole me away, a different plant and flower store, for $1 an hour. I was making 50 cents. This guy was balling. He gave me $1. So I said to the first guy, hey, man, see you later. Gotta go. And I was probably 16, 17 years old at the time. The guy starts off, he tells me, listen, you just sweep up, dude. You just sweep up, you clean up, you pick the yellow leaves, you water some plants, you do that. Do not talk to customers. Do not talk to customers. I'm like, okay, man, whatever you want, as long as as long as I'm getting $1 an hour, I don't give a shit what you want me to do. Right. So I did that. And then one night I was the only employee downstairs. He was upstairs in the office, I guess, doing paperwork. And these two guys came in. I mean, you're talking decades ago. I'm 61 years old now, almost 62, and I was probably 17 years old. So whatever that math turns out to be, that's what the math is. And these two guys came in and they were looking for help. I looked around, I was sweeping up, but nobody was there to help them. I just helped them. And this is back in the day. I stacked up all this shit in the middle of the store, about $3,500 worth of stuff, which is a phone, number one in that business, and number two, all those years ago. And the boss came down and he said, what's all this stuff in the middle of the store? I said, oh, well, I apologize. These two guys are walking around. I just helped them a little bit. He goes, all of this? I go, yeah, all of this. He goes, okay, listen, no more sweeping. You're only be going to talk to customers from here on in. And then from there, I drank it, man. I just drank the Kool-Aid. It was unbelievable. I get
Hmm.
off on selling. It's like heroin, man. It's unbelievable. The feeling of executing that sale on any level, once you feel it and once you get it, you can't live without it. And that's kind of my first
Mhm.
that was my
Yeah.
real first
But
cutting
you
of
so
my
you're
teeth
selling for
in
somebody
that
else
regard,
at that
you know?
point. Is that the same feeling you get if you're selling it for yourself?
I did actually. I mean, I know that's not the right answer for everybody, but I just getting off on the sale was unbelievable. I didn't even know yet, like what it was like to
Hmm.
do it for myself. I just loved it. I loved it for the execution, the manipulation, the win, the absolute win. You're wearing a football hat right now. I mean, you get it when it comes to the winning. You know what I mean? So I just love the win. It was many years later before I started to
Mhm.
understand what it was like to do it for myself. But the answer is yes, I was as
Hmm.
hot to
Now
do
did
it
you
for
go
him
into
as I
sales
was for
after that?
myself. Well, I went into entrepreneurship. I never stopped. This was a New Jersey corporation. I ended up owning the New York corporation of this same company. So I worked my way from the sweeper all the way to owning the New York corporation, which I turned around because it was failing in New York State. and I turned the whole thing around, that's when I started to really get an idea of
How
like,
long did you do that
yeah,
for?
man, this is unbelievable. You know, from age 13 in the first plant store, probably all the way through till my first kid was born, and she's 35. So years and I mean, I was probably in my
Hmm,
late
yeah.
20s, early
And what did
30s,
you so
maybe.
did you
So
sell
a long
that when you
time.
got rid of it? Did
Long,
you just leave?
yeah.
Like, how did you exit that business?
No, we ended up at the landlord came in and remember how many years ago this was. He needed $25,000 a month in rent. $25,000 a month. That was back 30 years ago. And I told him, listen, dude, partners are for dancing. I don't need you as my partner. If you don't change this, I will shut this place down. Sure, as you're standing there. He called my
And what
bluff.
was the
I shut
something
it
else?
down and I did something else, man. Something else was because I was in the floral business, I met this guy who used to deliver our floral rolls actually to wrap the flowers. And then I went and I went there and he had an opportunity. It was a side business for him. And then I took it over and made it a primary business for him and I. And it was a paper business, but it was recycled paper like, so after they're done printing fabric with the
Mhm.
paper, it still comes off and it's got a bit of a pattern on it. I used to take that and convert it into wrapping paper. I would have been hailed a hero if it was for today because everybody's like, recycling saved the planet. But
Right.
back then, people were like, oh, yeah, you're rolling garbage, dude. You're a fucking idiot. So, I would have
Right.
been carried off the field
Okay,
as a
okay.
hero, but not back then. So, so I built that company up and then I ended up
Um,
selling that company.
so let's fast forward. Tell me about
Sure.
Globalsource and, like, the TV show, and, like, when did all this stuff, like, start to kinda steamroll into, like, just you being a guy with some pretty heavy credentials and some cool things after your name, investor and all these different things, like, when did that change happen?
Well, I mean, it's, pretty heavy
Right.
credentials is all in the eye of the beholder, dude. You know what I mean? Everybody takes a dump and it smells like shit. Just remember that. Nobody's any better than
Right.
anybody else and nobody's smarter and nobody's dumber. You know what I mean? It
Mhm.
just, people get tied up with themselves and they suck. So, money changes a lot of people and the whole idea is to act as if you have
Right.
$10 in the bank or 10 million in the bank and nobody can tell the difference. That's the mark of a good person is just being kind and being nice. And I know that sounds like it's fruity horse shit, but it's not. I'm being straight with you. Helping people and doing things like that. I can't tell you, Jay, how many people that I mentor, how many people call me and I waste, air quotes, waste my time talking to them and just making sure
Right.
that they're better after meeting me than they were before meeting me. But that turns me on, dude. That floats my boat because nobody was there when I was younger to help me out. There was no internet, there was no nothing. And when I had questions, nobody had fucking answers for me. Nobody. And that's in business. That was in life. The only thing I did, man, I was just like, oh, so what do you do? Oh, you meet a girl. Okay. You get married. Okay. Now what do you do? You have 2.5 kids. Okay. Now what? Oh, you get a house with a white picket fence. Oh, okay. Whatever I could see on TV or whatever, that's what I thought you were supposed to be doing. No mentorship whatsoever. And that's why I take it so seriously now because nobody was there to just give me, and this isn't a fucking wow wow story. I'm not crying like a bitch. I'm just saying that nobody was there, and I want to make it so that somebody is there. Somebody could help. Somebody can give you at least some words of
Right.
advice or
Yeah.
not get caught in the same mousetrap that I got caught in, that's kind of what I do. So the TV show was pretty simple. I knew an executive producer. He liked my style because it was a no bullshit style. And I did what I do in real life. I just did it on television. So we had 3 seasons out of it. It was called All American Makers, and it was on Science Discovery Channel. And we got, I think, 19 or 21 episodes. I don't remember, but that's how many episodes we
Did they
had.
run out of bleeps? Did they have
And
enough
it was
bleeps
it
in the
was
bank
pretty
for
cool. And I what No, they tried at the beginning, they tried to make me white bread and mayonnaise. They tried to just like fucking whitewash me. And I turned to the guy and I was like, listen, man, dump me, get rid of me. I said, because if I can't be me, then you don't need me. Just put some fucking vanilla asshole in there.
Right.
Just do it. You don't need me. Fuck out of here. I don't give a shit about being on television. So they were like, oh, no, we want you. I said, well, then you got to loosen up a little bit and let me, so
Hmm.
I was somewhere in the middle, but it still wasn't good enough for me.
I
But,
figured it would sound like they were
I
playing like Morse
yeah,
code or
so
something with the
that's
probably
really
be
what
on.
but
Wow.
yeah, no, but it wasn't. I was a pretty good boy. I was a pretty good boy. So, yeah, so that was that, and, and as far as global source infrastructure started, I was in the floral import business. It went from the flower
Hmm.
shop to the paper to an importing business for floral supplies. And I built these guys' business and I took a piece of it.
Hmm.
This was in Brooklyn. And that taught me the import game. And once I learned the import game, then once these guys and I were finished, they got greedy and looked the gift horse in the mouth. Then I had global source infrastructure partners, and I actually sourcing and procurement for companies and different things like that. So I started to, at the beginning of this interview, we talked about relationships. Well, I've got
Mm-hmm.
relationships in China that factory owners would fly in for my children's weddings. I would go there and I would spend time with them and their families. They stayed in my home for holidays, things like that. So that
Right.
my relationships was second to none over there and still are. I still know the same guys for 25, 30 years.
Hmm.
And that's how that all started with the import business because I was familiar with
Hmm.
importing from the
Um.
floral supply
Yeah.
business that
Okay.
spilled
So
over
just
to the
so
global
like
source.
Joe Blow can know, what does import business really mean? Like what, like from a just a high level.
Importing business means so you take this pen, someone's got a pen and they go, listen, I'm paying 50 cents for this pen. I
Mm-hmm.
need 10,000 pens, but can you get me a better price out of China? Right. So I go, I take the pen, I bring it to my guys, and we try to find, I come
Mm-hmm.
back and I go, listen, we could do this pen for 28 cents, but you got to buy 12,000 of them. And then you make your decisions. But if you're selling the pens at a dollar because you were buying them at 50 cents, you'll be able to do two things. Either A, bring your
Mm-hmm.
price down a little bit, or
Right.
sell it for the same dollar and make a lot more money. But or a combination of both, right? So and that's really a very simplistic version of what we do. So, and we do everything from soup to nuts over there, like literally everything. We don't like soft goods,
Mm-hmm.
which is closed because of the return factor and the sizes and the colors and all that stuff. But other than that, we basically do everything. I could do soft goods if we wanted to, but I've elected not
So
to
who are
do it.
your
So
customers
um,
today? Like retailers and stuff? Is that
that's
who
what the
you're
import
procuring stuff
business
for?
I've had very large retail customers. Some of them have gone out of business. I have a lot of B2B customers, business to business. Some are components that they bring in these components and put
Mm-hmm.
them into something else, like, a part of I don't know, a hand cart. And then they take the wheels and they add it to the cart domestically inside the country. And then they do that. But so it's businesses
Hmm.
and it's retailers.
Who was your
It's
first customer
basically
for the
all of
global
above,
store? Like
all of
after
the
you
above.
split out on your own,
So
after
that's
your partners left, who was your first customer?
my first customer was a customer that I had in the floral supply business because
Mm-hmm.
I was in the seasonal business. So all the stuff that you decorate your house with, like glitter ornaments and things like that for Christmas. I would bring that in, and I did a lot of that. What they
Mm-hmm.
did was because of the relationship that I had with the customers, they all went with
Right.
me. They didn't stay where they were because they didn't know anyone. They only knew me, and I serviced them and I went out to dinner with them and I sent them Christmas cards and all the above. And when I went to them and I said, listen, I'm going to start this thing on my own. Would you come
Right.
with me? They say, Mark, we only buy from you. It's not the name of a company. It's you. So
No, it's a
of
great it
course we're
is a
going with
perfect
you.
for
And
it
that's
it's
exactly what happened.
exactly
So I know
what I
that's
hear
not
a
a
lot,
great first
and I think it's a
customer
great answer.
answer.
It's relationships. It's relationships that you built over years and being
Well, you have to relationships is the basis of everything that we're talking about, everything, whether it be in your personal life, whether it be in your business life. It's all about relationships and
right,
long-term relationships. And how do you not talk about today and look towards tomorrow? And that's really what this whole thing is. My wife and I met. She was 16. I was 17. I'm 62. She's 60. So that kid is soon to be 62. So that'll give you an idea. It's long term. Other things, not everything is
right,
important as it was at the beginning when you were a young buck. The same things aren't important as was back then as is today. So it's a long term relationship. And that's my marriage. But in business, I've had the same customer for 30 years in the wreath business.
mhm,
And same ones. I go out there, we go to dinner, yeah, the whole thing. And, that's the basis of the relationships, whether it be personal, business, or what have you.
yeah.
And you'll see. Hopefully, you can rely on those relationships later down the road if push ever comes to
That
shove.
is the perfect
Sometimes it works
segue to
out,
my last
and
question. Not really,
sometimes
it's
you
not a good
take it in
segue
the
at all, but
bunghole.
it's not a good segue. If you could non-business related, if you could do anything on earth and
Bunghole?
you knew you couldn't fail, what would it be?
Or I'm gonna smack you from left field, dude. You're not even gonna know. You're not even gonna see this one coming. I'm gonna answer the question
There you go.
super honest. I've never said this out loud. I know for a fact I could crush as a stand-up comic. I
Mm.
know for a fact it
Ah,
is my
breaking news
single
from the
largest
first
regret
customer podcast.
on planet Earth.
I
How
mean,
about that?
as somebody who I would imagine
How
says
about
just
that,
about
dude?
everything they
I've
think out
never
loud,
said it out loud.
I
Anybody.
appreciate you saving that for me. A comic, I feel like I've heard that a couple times. I think, and it's if you know you can kind of crush like in certain situations, I feel like it's always like in the back of your mind that you think you could do it. But I love that answer. I love that answer.
Well, here's my angle on it is that I
Right.
do personal stand-up comedy routines for everyone that I
Yep.
talk to on the phone, in essence, to sell them. So what I do is I make them laugh and then I execute the sale. So what do you do as a stand-up comic? You stand up there, you make everybody have a great time, and at the end of the day, they don't mind spending the money on the tickets or what have you, or buying your album or whatever it is. It's the same shit, except mine's situational. So if you talk to me about something, I'm able to take
Right.
that that item and talk about it right then and there,
Right.
whatever it is. So I'm very situational. I don't know how I would be getting up and doing a set routine. Yes, it wouldn't be so set, but it would be, shit about my wife and shit
Well,
about
it's
all
not
the
too
other
late.
stuff
It's
that
not too
that
late. You
comics
still could
talk about.
be.
But
It's not.
dude,
I mean,
I
you're the
know
only
for
one
a
saying it's
fact
too
that
late.
they
It's
don't
not too
have
late.
anything
You're a
on
funny
me.
guy. I think
They
you could
don't.
do it. Well,
Everybody
I mean,
says that. Yeah, the people.
I don't know. I don't think that. Yeah. Well, I think you could get over it.
Well,
All right,
I
Mark,
have
you're
shrivelly nuts.
fantastic.
That's why.
I really do
I don't
appreciate
have the
knowing you, and I
balls. I
think
don't have the
you're
balls.
very small handful of super genuine, super real people that I know, and I've had not known you that long. But I was gonna say I'll come up for the Giants game, but I think we already played you guys there. You're coming here on Christmas, not you, but the Giants are coming here for Christmas. So I will have to get out soon. See you, man.
Yeah, no worry. If anybody wants to reach out, it's markportney.com, marcportney.com. And just reach out. There's place to submit your inventions. There's places to look
I
for
think we could probably
sourcing,
do that.
mentoring,
All
whole
right.
nine
Well,
yards. So if
Mark, you're
anybody wants to
fantastic.
reach
People will
out
look you up,
and give me
and
a
I thank
stand-up
you for being
comedy
on, brother.
gig,
Let's talk again soon. All
I'm
right.
all in, dude.
Thank you, buddy. See you.
Thanks, Jay. I really appreciate it. Thank you, man.